Hello and welcome to Middle Eastern Thursday. So today I'm going to be sharing with you what I consider to be the very best of the Middle Eastern fragrances that have been launched during 2025. I am sure you will agree that there's just been so many new releases. And while I haven't picked up all of them, I have picked up quite a number of them and I have hauled them here with you. And I have also given you a review of the fragrances. But at the end of the day, we all need to know, okay, out of all of these fragrances, which are the fragrances that I should consider putting on my wish list? So today I'm going to share with you the 20 fragrances that I think are truly the best of all of the new Middle Eastern fragrances that have been launched during 2025. Now, keep in mind that, as I said before, I have already reviewed all of these fragrances here on the channel, and we have 20 fragrances to go through, so I'm going to move rather quick. In addition to that, as I go along sharing with you what I consider to be the very best 20 fragrances, I will also rank them for you. So I will start with my least favorite and go all the way up to my most favorite of all. But I also want you to keep in mind that I really do love all of these 20 fragrances. That's why they are on this list. But of course, I know that you're going to ask me if I could please rank them or tell you what are my top 3. So that's why I'm going to do that. I also want you to know that as we go along, you may start to wonder, okay, Arahi, why isn't this or that fragrance a part of this lineup? Well, some of the fragrances, even though, at least for us here in the US, they were launched during 2025, or I shouldn't say launched, it's like they appeared at retailers finally during 2025. Those fragrances really were not launched during 2025. Some of them were launched during 2024, others during 2023. So I made sure that the fragrances that are on this lineup are fragrances that were truly launched during 2025 worldwide, at least as far as I can tell. I will tell you though that there are fragrances that were launched during 2025 that I really do like, right? It's a very strong like, but they were not an absolute love. And others were an absolute love, but they fell like in the 21 to 25 position. And I'm only sharing the 20 fragrances. The last thing that I wanted to let you know is that I am not going to be focusing on what these fragrances were inspired by. Some of them were indeed inspired by another fragrance, and where that is the case, I will let you know, but I'm not going to focus on how does it compare to the OG or how does it compare to yet another Middle Eastern fragrance that may have the same scent profile. That is not the purpose of today's video. Today, I just want to share with you what I consider to be the very best 20 fragrances of all of the fragrances that have been launched so far during 2025 and that I have picked up and had the opportunity to test on paper and on skin. All right, but let's go ahead and jump in because we have quite a number of fragrances to cover. But before we do so, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi, and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos multiple times a week, and on this channel, we love to talk about all types of fragrances. So if that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in, and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go, fam. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. But I have to tell you, I always have a little surprise for you. So today I have a bonus fragrance that I want to share with you, which is not part of the 20 that I'm going to be speaking about, but I just think that this fragrance is so special. And I'm speaking about Grandeur Dupes Bubblegum. Now, this is such a cute and fun fragrance. I just shared the entire collection. I think it was about 2 weeks ago here on Middle Eastern Thursday. And I have to tell you that I am just so impressed with this fragrance. This has notes of like bubblegum and fruity notes and clove, if I remember correctly. But when I tell you that this is the fragrance that has captured that bubblegum scent to perfection in all of my collection. So I have a couple of other fragrances that are supposed to give you that bubble scent, that bubblegum scent. but they really haven't been as successful as grander dupes. And this is just such a cute and fun fragrance. So I just wanted to do an honorable mention because I didn't want to leave it out from this list. All right, so coming in at number 20, I have a fragrance that was inspired by Jo Malone's Ginger Biscuit. And this one is from Aroma Concepts, and it's Ginger Babe. So I think that this fragrance is just so well done. I was very impressed when I first received it, and I just could not believe how well they did that ginger note and to capture like that true, like the essence of ginger biscuit. So this is a fragrance that is quite fresh, spicy as to be expected. It has quite a bit of vanilla. It has some caramel, but the essence of it, of course, is that fresh spiciness, which to my nose is primarily about the cinnamon. But all in all, this is really a solid release coming out of the Aroma Concepts fragrance house. And I think that Ginger Babe is just perfection. Coming in at number 19, I have a fragrance from Khadlaj that I think has been done beautifully. So you may agree with me that when it comes to the note of cherry, you know, as simple as it may sound to just put a cherry in a fragrance, for some reason it is quite challenging because sometimes you get like that cough syrup type of scent coming out of the cherry, and sometimes the cherry is quite synthetic. And while I had several options here because a couple of them were launched, actually more than a couple, it's more like 3 to 4 if I recall correctly, cherry fragrances that were launched within the Middle Eastern fragrances category, and I do have them all. I felt that this one is just the best of all, and this is Nuha Cherry Blush from Khadlaj. This fragrance to me, guys, captures that cherry note in such a true and very realistic. It's like a luscious cherry that's also very, not super sweet, but it is sweet, it is juicy, it is just perfection. So this fragrance does open up very fruity with that dominant cherry note, and it is sweet. It is not very sweet, but it is definitely sweet. The other thing that I find fascinating about this fragrance is that it has the note of wine. And to my nose, it is definitely red wine. And at that, one that would have that very marked cherry note in it, because truly this fragrance is all about the cherry. This is a fragrance that I think is perfection if you want to layer with other fragrances, regardless of what type of fragrance in your collection. This is perfect because, again, that cherry note is quite realistic. Coming in at number 18, we have a fragrance that was launched, I wouldn't say at the beginning of 2025, but it was quite recent. I would say maybe about 3 months ago or so. And this is a fragrance, guys, that as soon as I sniffed it, it was a love for me. And it is inspired by I think it's Essential Parfums, and it's Bois Imperial. And I'm speaking about Fragrance World Signature Brown. This fragrance is absolutely exquisite. Truly. I have not really sniffed Bois Imperial, but if this is what it smells like, then I'm here for it because this fragrance is just a delight. It is really a fragrance that if you're looking for a signature scent, I think that this is perfection. This fragrance is very woody. It is fresh, spicy. And I would say that the base of the DNA of this fragrance is all about that aromatic quality of the fragrance because it is very aromatic. But at that, the woody notes really are quite dominant in the fragrance without making it lean to the masculine side or anything like that. Because I'm sure you're thinking, well, you said that it's very woody and that it's fresh, spicy. That's giving me masculine. No, to me, this is truly a unisex fragrance. And at that, for the ladies, I think that this is an exquisitely elegant fragrance. The fragrance does have oud, but the oud is not one that you should be concerned about whatsoever because it is quite smooth. It's not barnyardish at all. And the fragrance also has a touch of greenness that adds like a crisp quality to the fragrance. But all in all, I think that this is a perfect fragrance for a lady or for a gent and just about for any season of the year. The next fragrance that I want to share with you and coming in at number 17 is from Orchid, and this one is dark chocolate. And I'm sure you're already wondering, okay, so she pulled dark chocolate. Does that mean that we're not going to see pistachio kunafa in this lineup? Well, you'll have to see if I did add it. But I can tell you that of all of the dark chocolate, the supposed chocolate fragrances that have been launched in 2025, this one has me extremely impressed because while giving you a very, very realistic chocolate note, and at that dark chocolate truly, it is not one that's very bitter or very overwhelming. And it is a fragrance that I think that you can use for any season of the year because it is that wearable, which at least in my experience is rather rare when it comes to the note of dark chocolate. Here, not only do you have dark chocolate as a note, but you also have cacao. And to me, it's like a cacao that's like 94% cacao pure, right? And at that, the fragrance still preserves a very wearable, very manageable dark chocolate note that is very, very dominant. So for that reason, this is definitely my top pick when it comes to all of the chocolate fragrances that have been launched this year. The next fragrance that I have for you and coming in at number 16 is from Khadlaj, and this one is Cream Velvet. Now, Cream Velvet is a fragrance that, yes, was launched during 2025, and it does have that Bianco Latte DNA, but at that, I wouldn't say that this is truly Bianco Latte. This is more of like a twist. What I love about this fragrance is that while it does remain with that Bianco Latte DNA for sure, it is airier, it is a bit sweeter, and it's also less lactonic. So if you are one of those fan members that really does not enjoy a very lactonic fragrance, you may want to try this one. But if you're not into a lactonic fragrance at all, then this is not for you because it's definitely lactonic. At all that, I think that this is a beautifully, beautifully done fragrance that for some will be even better than Bianco Latte in case you find Bianco Latte to be a bit too intense for your taste. Coming in at number 15 is a fragrance that I just hauled and reviewed for you here on the channel not too long ago. And this is from Riffs, and we're talking about Ariba. Now, I have to tell you guys, just an update, right? So remember how we talked about the packaging and I told you that I wasn't sure that I was loving it. Well, I'm really not loving it because it already cracked. Like there is a huge crack here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there is a crack. I don't know if the camera is picking up on it. But putting the crack aside, this is a fragrance that was inspired by Creed Queen of Silk. And at that, it definitely does have that very similar DNA. And I say similar because there are some negligible differences. But all in all, I think that when it comes to the juice of this fragrance, it is very solid, which is why it's coming in at this number. Now, if you're talking about how it compares to and why I selected it, because there's others that I have in my collection that I have hauled with you before, why did I select this one? I just find that this one does smooth out some of the quirks or some of the things that many do not appreciate in Queen of Silk or even in Avant Silk, which is the other one that I have in my collection that is also inspired by Queen of Silk. But all in all, this fragrance, I think, was a very solid release and I think does a very good job at smoothing out that bit of like too intense and at times kind of screechiness that you find in the other fragrances. So coming in at number 14, I have a fragrance for you from Khadlaj, which is White Forest Strawberry. Now, this is a fragrance to me, guys, and I did share this with you when I reviewed it here on the channel. This to me smells exactly like Yum Pistachio Gelato if you added strawberry. But the fragrance has strawberry, blackberry, vanilla, some jasmine, and they have not disclosed it, but I pick up on two notes clearly. And the more this fragrance has had a chance to sit in my collection, the more I'm picking up on those two notes. And those notes are pistachio, and then there's some sort of lactonic note. I don't know if it's milk, I don't know if it's cream, I don't know if it's ice cream, but I am telling you there is a lactonic note because this fragrance is definitely lactonic. It is also not sickeningly sweet, but it is very sweet, so you do need to know that. But at the end of the day, it is very fruity. It does smell to me exactly like Yum Pistachio Gelato if you added strawberry. The good news is that the strawberry is quite juicy and quite realistic, and the fragrance does smell incredibly beautiful. At the dry down is where the magic happens in this fragrance, and you are going to fall in love because it is truly a yummy gourmand fragrance. The next fragrance that I have for you, and coming in at number 13, is from Paris Corner, and this one is Farah. Now, I have a dedicated review for this fragrance because this is supposed to be inspired by Initio's Side Effect. And I do get side effect from this fragrance, but I have to tell you that this is just an incredibly beautifully done fragrance. This is truly a fragrance that you are going to fall in love deeply. I have only had one fan member tell me that she really did not enjoy this fragrance, which I understand. If you are a fan member that really has not enjoyed or liked this fragrance at all, can you please let us know and let us know why? I'm not saying that everybody's going to love this, but this is really a fragrance designed to be like very loved, not mass appealing, but very loved. First of all, Side Effect is a fragrance that a lot of people really do enjoy, and Farah is right there with it. So Farah is a fragrance that opens up very, very warm, spicy. And just like the OG, it does have a bit of booziness, but it's not an excessive amount of booziness. You're also going to find a tobacco note that has been smoothed out and done very, very nicely. There is quite a bit of vanilla here. It is sweet. There is a tad of a metallic quality to the fragrance that I think is a little bit more than that I pick up on in Side Effect. But other than that, and not necessarily comparing it to Side Effect just as a standalone fragrance, if you've never tried or had Side Effect in your collection, I think that this is a fragrance that deserves you trying it because it is absolutely exquisite. It is truly a perfectly done fragrance. So coming in at number 12, I have a fragrance from Khadlaj, and this one is Mocha Latte. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you may remember that I fell in love with this fragrance at first sniff. This fragrance is truly incredible. There is some chocolate, some coffee, obviously, there's some vanilla, but then there's also orange. All in all, this is a fragrance that is not going to make you smell like coffee, which is what I love. On the contrary, it is truly one that is going to give you that yummy scent without being like straight up food or coffee where you smell like a barista. This is a very wearable fragrance that is just exquisitely beautiful. The next fragrance that I have for you, I hauled recently, and I already, of course, discussed it with you. And this one is from Fragrance World, and this is Alicia Vanilla. Now, Alicia Vanilla is allegedly, and it definitely is, inspired by Kayali's Vanilla 28. And you know, this year we've had several fragrances that allegedly were inspired by Vanilla 28, and I have reviewed a couple of them here on the channel with you and have told you that I have not been impressed. But this one, obviously, you know, I must think that this is the best one of all the ones that I've tried. It truly, truly is, guys. This fragrance hasn't even had a chance to really sit, and it's already to my nose and on my skin, giving me definitely like 98% Vanilla 28. This is a fragrance that is all about the vanilla, obviously. It does have some jasmine, it has tonka bean, but at the end of the day, I am telling you, it is just a beautifully done fragrance. And it also has a quality to it that I love, which is that it is vanilla, but it doesn't smell like you're cooking with that vanilla. And it's also sweet, but not sickeningly sweet. So it's a very balanced vanilla fragrance that I also dare say you could use quite a bit for layering with just about any fragrance that you want to add a bit of vanilla to. The next fragrance coming in at number 10 is from French Avenue. This one is Veneno Bianco. Now, Veneno Bianco is a fragrance that was inspired by Kilian's Sun-Kissed Goddess. And this fragrance, I have to tell you, this fragrance is truly Sun-Kissed Goddess, okay? This one has not had a chance to sit in my collection. I just hauled it and discussed it with you recently here. But this is truly Sun-Kissed Goddess. It also has, and it's very important that you know this, It does have that coconut, which is done like with that sunscreen, like sunscreen quality to it, like that sunscreen scent. You are going to pick that up in this fragrance. That is how the coconut has been done. But all in all, I think that Veneno Bianco is a beautiful fragrance that is perfect for the summer season and, of course, also spring. This is a fragrance that focuses a lot on the white florals. But the blend here has been done so nicely that you're not necessarily going to be picking up on one over the other. It's not a white florals fragrance that will give you a headache or that is too much, of course. And it is also sweet. But what I love about it is that there's a bit of airiness to it, courtesy of the citrusy notes involved. And all of the notes, allow for a very nice blend that at the dry down is going to give you a beautiful scent that is perfect for the summer season or for any just warm weather. I'm not sure that this is a fragrance that I would pick up on a cold day. What I also love about it is that there's a very nice balance between the white florals, because there's also yellow florals. So the balance between the white and the yellow florals has also been done in a very nice way. The next fragrance coming in at number 9 is from Lattafa, and this one is a Theory. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I just did a dedicated review for this fragrance as it was launched maybe 2 months ago, but this is a fragrance that is supposed to be, and it is, inspired by Gucci Flora Gorgeous Orchid. And of course, as to be expected, this is quite the floral fragrance. It has a very nice balance of like the orchid and some jasmine, and it has a note of passion flower, which you don't find frequently in fragrances. But I have to tell you that this is truly, this is truly inspired by the Gucci fragrance. But at that, what I love about it is that it is, to me, it is a better blend. And most importantly, it does perform much better on skin and otherwise, because this one will give me a full day. While the OG, I did pick it up and I ended up returning it because it wasn't performing very well. But the scent is definitely a very, very nice scent that you could use during the spring, during the summer season, and maybe even the fall. This is not a fragrance that I would pull for the winter season at all. But at all that, I think that this is a solid release. The next fragrance, and coming in at number 8, is a fragrance that from the moment I hauled it here on the channel, you guys know that I've been obsessed with this one and nothing has changed, and I absolutely love it. This is from Maison Asrar, and this is Date Night. Now, Date Night is a fragrance that is very sweet. It's not sickly sweet, but it is very sweet, and it opens very fruity. Here you have some mango, some raspberry, orange blossom, ambergris. But at all that, this is a fragrance that is not just for date night. So let me just start by saying that, because I have received that question quite a bit. No, it's not just that it's designed for date night. I don't know why they called it date night necessarily, but this fragrance also has a tad of a tropical vibe to it. And I think it's the note of mango that plays the trick. I do pick up on the mango clearly. The mango is not a synthetic mango. I really do enjoy that note in this fragrance. But all in all, this is to me truly a fruity fragrance. The next fragrance that I have for you is from Lattafa, and this one is Victoria. Now, you guys know I have a dedicated review for this fragrance here on the channel because I was so excited when I first heard about this launch, and then when I heard that it was supposed to be inspired by Dolce & Gabbana's Devotion. Oh, that is a fragrance that I love. I have the original, like the Devotion, and then I have the latest, which is like Devotion Intense. And I have to tell you that I love this fragrance because if you are one of those fam members that found Devotion to have a little bit of screechiness, like there are some notes that, yes, can be a little bit screechy or a little bit too much, well, here that has been smoothed out, which is what I love about this fragrance. This fragrance, of course, as to be expected, has a ton of, I love this scent, guys. I just love it. Has a ton of vanilla. The fragrance is also citrusy, which gives it like a degree of airiness, because if not, I think it would be a bit cloying. There are some white florals here, and the dry down is quite powdery. But all in all, this is a fragrance that I think you can get away with using just about any season of the year and for any occasion. A very versatile and very nicely done fragrance. The next fragrance that I have for you, and coming in at number 6 is from Paris Corner Amir, and this one is Vous Zest. I have to tell you guys, this is a fragrance that, wow. So this is supposed to be inspired by Xerjov's Casamarati Lira, and it truly is inspired by it. Of course, I have a review of this fragrance here on the channel, and if I recall correctly, it may be a dedicated review because I was totally blown away when I first tried this fragrance. This is truly a very, very citrusy, vanilla-centric fragrance. So the citrusy notes in the vanilla, in my opinion, are the stars of this fragrance. But at that, you are going to find that it is also like a bit fresh, spicy. This one I find to be a bit airier. And within the spicy notes, the one that really sticks out to me the most is the note of cinnamon. This fragrance has some caramel, which doesn't overdo the sweetness of it. And it is definitely a fragrance that has also like a bit of a balsamic quality to it. But all in all, this is a very, very beautiful fragrance that is highly enjoyable, and is why it has ranked so high on my list. The next fragrance that I have for you, and coming in at number 5, is from Paris Corner, and this one is Indomitable. Now, Indomitable is a beautiful fragrance that I think is basically summer in a bottle. It is very, very citrusy. It has some clementine and some orange, and it borders on zesty. There are parts of the olfactory journey where, to me, this fragrance is quite zesty, compared to other fragrances that I have in my collection, like Quatre 4 and others that focus exclusively on those citrusy notes bordering on zesty. This one is right now my favorite, guys, because there's just something about this fragrance that as soon as you spray it on, it just makes you happy. It is a very, very easy pull, a no-brainer. It is perfection for the summer season, but you can probably use it any time of the year. You know, it just really depends. But for me, this is spring and summer in a bottle for sure. The next fragrance that I have for you, and coming in at number 4, is the first of 2 fragrances that I am completely impressed with. These 2 fragrances, and they're both from French Avenue. But this one is Vulcan Sable. Now, Vulcan Sable was inspired, and it really is inspired, by Stefan Humbert Luca's Sand Dance. That is a fragrance like just about all of the fragrances that I've discussed with you today. I do own the OG. And when I first sniffed this fragrance, I was taken completely aback because this is truly Sand Dance. It has that same very, very ambery opening. It has a ton of vanilla. It is a fragrance that is spicy, but in this one, there is no way to distinguish what the spices are because the blend is just spectacular, okay? This is a fragrance that has that booziness, but it's not too boozy. It is sweet. It is just perfection because it balances all those very strong accords with quite a bit of a citrusy quality. So it's not necessarily that the fragrance is airy because there's a level of like denseness to it, but it's definitely one that has a bit of airiness coming in from the citrusy notes. It is a musk-based fragrance, but the musk has been done in a very, very smooth way, and it does have a tad of a balsamic quality to it. But all in all, this is just an exquisitely done fragrance. And by the way, this is one that I would pull for any season of the year because to me, this one also is a bit addictive. Let us know, have you tried Vulcan Sable or actually any of these fragrances? Your thoughts, if you don't like them, why you don't like them, if you like them, why you like them, just let us know. So the next fragrance that I have for you, and coming in at number 3, is from Paris Corner, and this one is Marshmallow Blush. Now, of course, you guys knew that Marshmallow Blush had to appear on this list because this is truly an exceptional fragrance. Now, let me start by saying, as we all know, that this was inspired by Kayali's Young Bougie Marshmallow, right? And this is a fragrance that has truly the marshmallow note in it. And it has been done just exquisitely. I will say that it is a bit lactonic, which is my only caution. If you're not into like a lactonic fragrance or you're not into a gourmand fragrance, then this is definitely not for you because this is truly yumminess in a bottle. It is very sweet. It is fruity. It is a musk-based fragrance. And the musk here, while not really having a stellar role, it is like a level 3 because it's truly a musk-based fragrance. It's also a fragrance that at the dry down is a bit powdery. It is very, very ambery, and it has a touch of a balsamic quality to it. But at the end, this is truly a fun fragrance that's not juvenile and that is going to make you smell very, very yummy. I think this is a solid release, and I am so glad that we have this fragrance at such an affordable price point. Let us know what you think about Marshmallow Blush. All right, so we have only 2 more fragrances to go, and I must tell you that these 2 fragrances, I'm just going to say, wow. Okay, wow. This next one is from French Avenue, and this one is Vulcan Faux. My. This one is allegedly, and it is, very much inspired by Stefan Humbert Luca's God of Fire. That is a fragrance that I have rarely found someone who doesn't enjoy that fragrance. I own it and I love it. Now, this fragrance, I'm not going to focus, as I said in the opening, into how does it compare to the OG, but as a standalone fragrance, this is just absolutely exceptional. So here you have the note of rhubarb, which rhubarb and I don't get along very well, but here it's been done beautifully and balanced very much so with the fruity notes. Here you also have like a fresh, spicy quality to the fragrance, and for me, it comes directly from the note of ginger. There's an airiness to the fragrance where there's some citrusy notes involved, and if I recall correctly, it's coming from lemon. This is a fragrance that has quite a bit of notes, but the blend is just perfection. And this is an exceptional fragrance that I highly recommend for the spring and summer seasons. And to be honest with you, this is one that I pull all throughout the year. But this is just absolute perfection. Please let us know, have you tried Vulcan Faux and how do you feel about it? The next and last fragrance that I have for you, obviously, this is a very, very special fragrance. And I have to tell you guys, this to me is truly, so far in 2025, to me, this is the #1 Middle Eastern fragrance that has been launched. I mean, this is just exceptional. And this one is from Paris Corner, and it's Khair Felicity. So this fragrance is inspired by Kayali Wedding Silk Santal 36, I believe it is. Now, Wedding Silk Santal is a fragrance that I own. I love it. I don't think I've ever heard of someone who doesn't enjoy Wedding Silk Santal to begin with. But this fragrance, this is absolutely exceptional. If you have not gotten your nose on this one, please make it a point to do so, because I think that you are going to kick yourself for waiting this long to try it. This fragrance opens and remains with a ton of vanilla. It is a sweet fragrance, but I wouldn't say that it's very, very sweet, at least not to my nose. It is just a sweet fragrance with quite a bit of florals, and the florals have been balanced very, very nicely, because the florals that really stand out to me, and I know that there's others, are the white florals, but they're not heady or overpowering in any way. I can't even distinguish one from the other because the blend has been done so, so nicely. There's also the note of champagne in this fragrance, which gives it like, not fizzy necessarily, but there's an airiness that I know can be attributed to that note, because I tell you, this is just a beauty. To go and spray this fragrance and go on the olfactory journey is just a delight. It's a fragrance lover's dream. This is truly an exceptional fragrance, and I have to tell you, it does deserve to be in the #1 spot. Please let us know if you've tried or if you own Khair Felicity and how you feel about it. Do you agree that it landed on my #1 spot, or do you not agree? And if not, let us know. All right, fam, so we've reached the end of today's video, and I hope that this was enjoyable and useful for you. I know that I didn't give you a lot of detail on each fragrance, but I didn't want this to be a 1-hour video. So I just wanted to come on here and let you know so far what I consider to be the very best of all of the Middle Eastern fragrances that have been launched this year, which to me are the top 20, the top 10, because it's included in there, the top 5, and of course my #1 pick because without a shadow of a doubt, Khair Felicity is my number one pick so far in 2025. But I have to tell you that I am so impressed with Vulcan Faux. Oh, and I am also very impressed with Vulcan Sable. French Avenue has really been kicking it out of the ballpark. Anyway, guys, I could just go on forever because you guys know that I love to talk about fragrances. So, as always, thank you so much for hanging with me today. Please leave a comment letting us know your opinion about some of these fragrances. As always, thank you so much for hanging with me today, and I will see you all in the next video.